Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at a couple of new option cards which are going to be coming around in the Digimon trading card game. Now, like pretty much all of our reveals in the past week or so, we've got a pair of cards, and the reason we've got a pair of cards here is because we've got two starter decks coming out in the not too distant future. We have got the Gallantmon starter deck and we've got the old Force Saber starter deck, and what they're tending to do here is really release these as pairs of reveals, so we essentially get to look at one from each of the starter deck every time new cards get shown. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's very sensible. I think it's a good way to do it, and I am absolutely in. So what we've got here is a pair of option cards, Old Force Saber and Royal Saber. And as someone reminded me the other day, we do actually have the deck list from these particular decks. So I can tell you that Old Force Saber does come as a 4 of, but Royal Saber only comes as a 2 of. So let's start with that one. Is there a reason it's so good they only give us 2 in the starter deck? Well, what we've got here is a 1-cost option card, and as a security you add it to your hand, which I'm not usually a fan of. I like getting an effect when it comes out as a security card. I like getting that extra bonus. Having said that, I do kind of like the fact that it's a 1-cost, so I can essentially just play it later. It's only going to cost me 1 memory, so I add it to my hand, I wait for the right time. For cheaper cards, I do quite like it when it goes to your hand. Something like Gaia Force being so gosh darned expensive, you need it to fire from the security, or else it's never really going to do you any good. But cheap cards like this, I'm alright with. What does it actually do? Well, what it does is you choose one of your Digimon, and that Digimon gets an extra 2,000 power for the turn. Then, if you have equal or fewer security left than your opponent, one of your Digimon gains security attack +1 for the turn. Okay, that's pretty good. If essentially you are not winning the game, if you're winning the game, you just get the extra 2,000. If you're not winning the game, then essentially you get an extra security attack, and you get an extra 2,000 power for 1 memory. Now, here's what's weird. This is Great Tornado. Like, this is literally Great Tornado when it works properly. Great Tornado gives one of your Digimon an extra 2,000 power and security attack +1 until the end of the turn. The difference is that there's no caveat with Great Tornado. Great Tornado always gives you the extra 2,000 and always gives you the security attack +1. Here, you can have exactly that, but only if you are not ahead in the game. It really is as simple as that. If you are ahead in the game, you just get the extra 2,000 power. If you're not, then you get yourself a Great Tornado, but you're paying 1 memory rather than 3, and having a free memory card that you get to essentially pay 1 memory to use is clearly a good thing. So now we need to ask ourselves the question of, well, hang on a second, how often do you expect this to happen? How often do you expect to not be winning the game? Or to put it another way, how aggressive is your deck? Because if you've got a really hyper aggressive deck, this is not going to be the card for you. What is essentially going to happen is you are going to be jumping ahead in the game, you're going to be ahead on prize cards, and you're going to just get an extra 2,000 power for 1 memory. And that's it. That is going to be your choice. And if we look at 1 memory red option cards, we've got Shadow Wing from the starter deck that gives you an extra 3,000 power for 1 memory. So make no mistake about it, if you are winning the game, if you've got more security remaining than your opponent, so you are further away from actually being beaten, then this is basically 2/3 of a Shadow Wing. That's not good, ladies and gentlemen. That's not good. So we've got a weird kind of card that really is going to depend on your playstyle here. If you are playing hyper-aggressive and winning the game and all of that, this is not a good card. If you've got a slower game plan, if you are even or behind in the game, then all of a sudden this becomes a very good option. But now we come back to the whole security card thing, and actually as a security it goes to your hand, so you can bide your time and wait for the perfect time to drop it. Well, now all of a sudden, that sounds pretty good to me. I'm giving this between 3 and 4 Wassies. When I give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. I don't think it's a stunning card because it is kind of situational, but I absolutely do think that in some games and for some decks, this could be legit. And remember, there are only 2 copies in the starter deck here, so if you want a playset of this particular card, Royal Saber, you are going to have to buy 2 of the starter decks. Moving over to Old Force Saber then, what we've got is a free cost option card that gets added to your hand, and it has to, we'll see why in a minute. And it unsuspends one of your blue Digimon. Nice. And look, blue have always been the unsuspend colour, yeah? They have always been the colour which are all about unsuspending. We do actually have a blue option card that will unsuspend your Digimon at the moment. It is the Ray of Victory. You return an opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to their hand, and then if you've got a blue tamer in play, you unsuspend one of your Digimon. The good news is you get to return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to their hand. The bad news is you've got to have a blue tamer in play, and you've got to pay 5 memory rather than 3. It is, shall we say, not quite the same. Of course, you'll notice that on the artwork of that card, I believe that is Old Force Digimon, and there is a very good reason for that, because when it comes to the whole unsuspending thing, Old Force Digimon is definitely, it's one of the options we're looking at, yeah? When we're talking about unsuspending and blue Digimon, this is something we're taking a bit seriously. Old Force Digimon, of course, when one of your blue tamers becomes suspended, you unsuspend it. And once during your turn, when it becomes unsuspended during your main phase, you gain a memory. I.e., if you use this new card, this Old Force Saber, to unsuspend Old Force Digimon from BT2, it is essentially a 2-cost option card rather than a 3, which makes it even better. We've got Aero Digimon. It's got an inheritable skill. When it becomes unsuspended during your main phase, you gain jamming and cannot be destroyed by security cards. So that sounds honestly pretty gosh darned good to me. Unsuspending is huge. Unsuspending means you get to attack again. Or maybe even not attack again. You don't actually have to attack. Sometimes the reason that you unsuspend is you just want to be unsuspended at the end of your turn. Remember, generally speaking, your opponent, during their turn, can only attack your unsuspended Digimon. So, I mean, that's why green have so many cards that suspend you, so they can go ahead and attack you and try and take you out. Well, here, you can basically pay a little bit of memory to guarantee that you are going to be in a position where, if you're going to be attacked, you are only going to be attacked by something that can attack an unsuspended Digimon, think Rust Tyrannomon, or your opponent is going to have to actually have something to suspend you before they can actually go ahead and attack you. Think something like a flower cannon. Yeah, green have got some options. So, I like this. As far as I'm concerned, unsuspending is absolutely one of the most powerful effects in the game. Both because you stop being attacked and because you get extra attacks. Unsuspending is huge. And we know that blue like to do this. We know that blue are all about unsuspending. We've got Metal Garurumon from the starter deck, which could just unsuspend once during your turn. We've got XVmon that unsuspends one of your level 4 or lower Digimon when you Digivolve. We've got a bunch of options here for unsuspending in blue, and this is just one more of those options. It's free memory, although, like I've said, it doesn't actually have to be free memory. There are ways around it, but mostly, I think it's worth it. This is a card that kind of excites me. I'm not really a blue player like that. I play blue every so often. I play all the colours every so often. Blue ain't my favourite, but I like being able to unsuspend. I really do consider it to be one of the most powerful effects in the game. And what's great about this is that it just does it. There's no if this and if that. It is just a card that unsuspends one of your blue Digimon. And there's nothing else that needs to be done, no other parameters that need to be hit, and frankly, that in my eyes makes it a much more powerful card. I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 Wassies, and I'm hoping I'm kind of underrating this a little bit. Maybe it's not going to be quite that good, maybe I'm overrating it, but the fact of the matter is, it is just a blanket unsuspend to any of your Digimon, and in my eyes, that is worth getting a little bit excited about. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Me nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassie Plays.